Welcome back. The June primaries are around the corner, and this morning we are taking a closer look at one of the most high-profile races. It's the race for the California governor's seat with political analyst this morning, John Dadian. Boy, it is getting tight in this race for the Republican candidates. Yeah, to talk a little bit this morning about the fact that as it's getting down to the wire here, Meg Whitman had started off with a 50-point lead in the polls, and it has dwindled down. Where is it right now?
Well, basically, I would consider it neck and neck because the two most recent polls that came out, one shows 9 points and one shows 2 points. Now, that's with the margin of error of between 4 and 5 points, so it really is neck and neck. What you have to remember about any time you see a poll, all a poll is a snapshot in time. And that's really just what it's giving you. The oldest rule in campaigning, which is what you're seeing in the Republican primary, is you don't want to peak too early, you don't want to peak too late. If Meg Whitman loses, she'll have peaked too early.
Okay. Let me ask you a little bit about what's driving these numbers, do you believe? There's been a lot of conversation about the Tea Party and the influence of conservative politics in this election. How has that played a part in what's happening in the polls, do you believe?
I don't believe that's played a major part so far. It might on Election Day. There are several reasons that's shown the drop in the poll. One of the points is the issues that the Poizner campaign have latched onto are resonating with the voters. The Goldman Sachs issue with Meg Whitman, that's hurting her tremendously. Even the non-voting issue is hitting. So that's one area where it's really showing. The other point is, as I said, Poizner's been judicious with his money, so now they're really on TV, and so their commercials are making an impact. A very important point is on the Democratic side, even though they have an uncontested, they really don't have an uncontested primary, but Jerry Brown is clearly the leader. But there's been Democratic independent expenditures against Whitman specifically, and so that's made a huge impact also. And of course, the last point, the difference between Poizner and Whitman is Poizner stayed on message.
You know what, let's go back to the money that's being spent against Whitman by the Democrats. Talk about why they're doing that.
Very unprecedented. Again, on one hand, clearly they see that she would be the most formidable candidate. And keep in mind, this is not the Brown campaign. It's certain Democratic committees that do it in independent expenditure. But I always go by the old rule, be careful what you wish for. It's the unintended consequences. I think whoever the Republican nominee is, it's going to be a very close race in November. So.
And they are really fighting it out. Now we're getting the robocalls are coming, these automatic calls, and they're each trying to say that what the other candidate is saying about them isn't true. But the truth is they've both flip-flopped on some key issues, on abortion and on immigration.
Absolutely, and specifically on the abortion issue, again, since they have a contested primary, they have to be real careful because Jerry Brown is grinning right now. Not only is he comfortable in the fundraising, but when the general comes out, he'll take whoever the losing opponent's comments were and use it against the general election opponents. So that's really it. But on the abortion in particular, the Whitman campaign has sent out a mailer that insinuates one thing where her position's another, and that's their own mailer.
And Poizner the same on his stance on immigration as well. It seems to have flip-flop. Both of them are saying that neither of them are for amnesty, but both candidates are trying to peg the person as supporting amnesty.
And again, I talked to a lot of the average men and women on the street, the average voter, et cetera. First thing they say to me, absolutely first thing repeatedly, is I'm confused. Why am I getting a mailer that says two different things? It's amazing.
All right, so what are we going to look for now as we lead up? We're just a couple of weeks away. What do you think is going to play the most critical role in who's going to get the nomination for the Republicans? As we said, Jerry Brown really uncontested at this point. He's just sitting back and waiting for the general. But between the two of these, what do you think is going to, candidates, what's going to happen?
Well, today's what we call E15, 15 days left before Election Day. So they're doing the oldest rule in the book. The next 2 weeks, they'll be securing their base and making sure that their particular voters who are already committed to them get out to vote. And so what we've seen in California over the past couple of decades is that absentee voter, which is going on right now. So you'll see that. And then in the last week, what you'll do is that undecided is still pretty good, large, pretty about 30% plus, at least right now. And so that's where the election is going to be decided. With, as I said, with the polls showing it neck and neck, clearly the undecideds and the independents are going to decide the Republican nominee.
It'll be an interesting race. John Dadian, thank you so much for coming in to try to clear up some of the issues there.
Clear as mud.
Clear as mud, exactly.